Welcome back to Tiger's Garage. As you can see, we are back on the Big Block Mopar today, and we have more than a couple paychecks of parts in here. So let me go through it and explain the plan for this weekend. These are what we've kind of been waiting for to finish the 440. They're the trickflow PowerPort 240 CNC cylinder heads. They're supposed to be one of the best out-of-the-box stock port location heads on the market. They do make a 270cc option as well, but that was a little, it's like max wedge size. That's a little overkill for what we're doing. I went with these instead of like a big port Indy or something because I've got a really nice set of TTI headers, and these keep the stock exhaust port location, so they should bolt up just fine. The 240 is the intake port volume in cc's. These flow 310 CFM at 500 lift. Our camshaft is 580. They're supposed to be killer, and I'm really excited to put them on. I got gaskets, I got lifters, rocker studs, head bolts. Should have everything we need to kind of mock this up, and the plan is to do that so I can measure for push rods. That is the thing that we don't have, and I'm not a good enough guesser. So the plan for today is get the lifters soaking. We're going to pull an intake and exhaust valve out, put a check spring in, so then we can measure for push rod length without collapsing the lifter. I did buy the wrong style adjustable push rod. This is a ball style. I need a ball cup. So I have one of those that's showing up tomorrow, but I think for today, we could get it ready to take our measurements tomorrow. Okay, we're gonna start with the lifters so they can be soaking. They've got some like assembly lube on them. I'm gonna hit all these with a little bit of brake clean, and we'll put them in here and we'll pour oil over the top. Okay, so all the lifters have been degreased and blown off, and now we're going to come in with some of the same oil that we're going to run, at least for break-in, which is this Driven BR40, and we're just going to cover these guys up. This will get, hopefully, most of the air out of the plungers and just let them fill with oil because these are hydraulic. We're still going to pre-lube it. That's going to force any extra air out, but with hydraulics, generally you want to soak them, so we're going to let them sit while we're doing other stuff. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is pop an intake and an exhaust valve off and put in these comp cams checking springs. So when we measure for push rods, we don't collapse the plunger in the hydraulic lifter. Now you can do this a couple ways. You can, if you had a solid lifter, you can measure push rod length with that. That's probably the best way. You can also take your brand new lifters apart, flip the plunger around and kind of turn it into a solid and then undo that. Or you can use these. That's what we're going to do. I don't have any solid roller lifters of the same brand. And like, don't forget the cup height matters because you're checking length. So I like to measure with the lifters that are going to be in the engine. That just means we got to put a little bit weaker spring or a lot weaker spring in it, so it doesn't, this spring pressure doesn't collapse the lifter when you roll the motor over. That's what we're going to do now. I don't really love taking brand new stuff apart, but that's what we're going to do. Keepers out. I'd have to look in the book. I think these heads have something like 132 pounds of seat pressure at 1950 installed height and up around 440 open. Now, with these springs off, we're going to go ahead and install our check-in springs, which you can compress just with your fingers. There we go. Check springs installed. Now, they've got enough springage to hold the valve against the seat, but not so much that it'll collapse the plunger in the lifter. So the next thing we're going to do is come in with a little acetone and just carefully wipe off the head gasket surface before we put the head on. Now, we are going to lay the gasket down when we do this and take our measurements. The head gaskets we're using is a Cometic MLS multi-layer steel. They are reusable. That's why I'm going to go ahead and put it on. If you didn't want to, if you run like a Felport Pro or something that once you crush it, it's crushed forever, you don't have to put the head gasket on to take that measurement. You just have to remember to add that much to whatever length you get because it's going to raise the head up that much. Ours are 45 thousandths compressed. Okay, so now these head gaskets, like I said before, they're a multi-layer steel construction. They are not cheap. They're over $100 a side. But I've had very, very good luck with Cometic. I've ran them in turbo 4 cylinders, the LS motors. They make a really, really good gasket, but they can be a little bit fickle with surface finish. Now, any good machine shop is going to ask you what style head gasket you're going to run when you bring your motor in, and if they don't, you should definitely tell them. I did. I said, I'm running an MLS gasket, which means this surface here needs to be extremely smooth. Okay, these don't, they're steel. They don't really deform like a Felpro OE style gasket would. So both sides, block and head, need to be perfect. If they're not, this gasket, although it's good, isn't going to be good enough. It's not going to deform and you'll have leaks. We don't have to worry about that because all this stuff is brand new. Okay. Get a safety bolt down the center. Speaking of bolts, these heads take a special bolt. Of course they do. It's because they're physically taller than a factory style head. ARP makes them, Trickflow sells them, but you have to buy their either bolt or stud kit. Now, the bottom end of this thing is studded. I wanted the top end to be studded too. You'll notice I just put a bolt in, not a stud. That's unfortunately on purpose. I ordered the stud kit from Summit when I ordered all this other stuff. And it said they were on back order for 2 weeks. And I was like, cool, whatever. The moment I ordered it, that back order changed to October 8th. I wasn't willing to wait. They had the bolts in stock. Now they're still an ARP. They're still good. This motor isn't going to make 1,000 horse and probably need to be studded. So we're going with bolts for the heads. Kind of sucked, but my goal, I'd really like to get this back in the car this summer. And if I was waiting on head studs till October, that wasn't going to happen. So we compromised again. I'm going to run through, put the rest of the bolts in, and then probably get the rockers out. And I'll show you what I got for rockers. They're super cool. Guess what? These heads also take special rocker arm studs. Again, Trickflow sells them, ARP makes them. Might seem like we're making a lot of compromises or spending a lot of extra money just to run these, but the reason is they're as radical as you can get, like I said, while maintaining a stock port location, which is important if you already have headers that fit. If any of you have ever put headers in a Mopar, it's a nightmare all by itself. Having to run something else is a problem I don't want to have. Otherwise, you get into like fender well type stuff. You got to cut the fenders out of it. We're not doing it. Plus, the set of TTIs we have are huge money. They're ceramic coated and they're perfectly fine. These here I've been saving. They're a holdover from the other motor. I've been storing them in WD-40 soaked paper until it's time. These are an old set. And by old, I mean you can't buy them anymore, of Crane Gold rockers. So what we need to do is these bolts that are in it right now are obviously coming out, and then we need to set it down on the head, on the studs, and kind of check fitment before we can measure for push rods. I don't even think Crane is a company anymore. Like, I think they went out of business. These are a little bit finicky to install because they got these springs and spacers sitting up on the pedestal because the spring wants to push everything together, obviously. Rocker alignment looks good already. These are 1:5 ratio, which is stock. They make a 1:6, or they used to. Other people do now. Harlan Sharp, if you were hunting for a little more lift, that's an option. These are a 7/16 12 point. All right, what we're going to do now is back all these adjusters all the way out. I'm going to put a little lube on them, and then we're going to set them all to the same amount of threads showing on the top. All right, so fun fact I learned, which I probably should have realized, you can't get a push rod in here with the rockers on. So this is going to have to come off and on a whole bunch. It's going to be tedious. The correct tool is coming tomorrow because I need a cup end and a ball end. This is an old push rod from the previous build. It's a 3/8. It's about 9 7/16 long, and the cup fits in the rocker adjuster. I think what we're going to do, because I don't have the tool yet, is I'm going to pull this off and put one of these in and just see if it's close or what it looks like. All right, so I have a lifter down there too. These heads are supposed to be clearanced for 3/8 push rods. I think I'm going to put one on intake and exhaust, and then we'll just see how far out of bounds we are, or see if this size works. Now, we're not going to reuse these. This motor sat with, the old motor sat with water in it. There we go. Is it down? Because those push rods are really long. Both of those are on the base circle, and it's already trying to open. So we know that those are too long. Because if I was to suck this down right now, the valve would start to open. Okay, well, I think instead of trying to make something work knowing we don't have the right tools, we're going to pump the brakes on this, wait till tomorrow for the appropriate adjustable push rod to show up so we can check for real. So that's it for today. All right, so it's the next day. Push rod checker still isn't here. It's supposed to be coming, but who knows when. I think what we're going to do is go ahead and put this head on and like torque it and just be done with it, put the rocker studs in, because that one doesn't have to come off. We're going to do all our checking over here. I did go to the other shop and grab the headers too. So once we get the heads on, we can kind of fit those and make sure we don't have any weird interference issues or anything like that. We shouldn't. I also grabbed the old spark plugs so we can thread them in. Just make sure everything's good before we commit to putting it in the car. Just get it started so it can't fall off. Okay, now what we're going to do is I'm going to lube up the rest of the head bolts, lay them in here, and we're actually going to torque this side down for good. All the bolts are just kind of in there, so we'll go ahead and just run them down until they're snug, and then I got to look in my paperwork here and figure out torque values. Just for fun, let's swing a header up here. Now we don't have a gasket, but we don't even have the right bolts. We're just going to kind of hang it up here and have a look at things like spark plug access. Let's go ahead and hang the other side too. We're waiting on parts anyway. It'll be cool to see it. So I don't know about you, but I can't help myself. We're this close. We might as well set some induction up here and just get an idea what it's going to look like. All right, so I got my adjustable push rod. It came in very late. So what we're gonna do, this one measures from 8.8 inches to 9.8 inches. It's adjustable. We're gonna collapse it all the way. I got a lifter down in the bore. We'll put it down in the lifter cup. Then we're gonna throw the rockers back on, back it out till we're at 0 lash, roll the motor over a few times, and see what the pattern looks like and see what the length looks like. So we have our adjustable push rod here under this rocker. What I'm going to do now is try to get a little bit of dry erase onto the tip of the valve before I extend it to 0 lash. That way when we roll it over, we can look at the pattern. All right, well, I don't really know if the dry erase thing worked, but what we'll do now is unscrew this push rod until we have 0 lash, which is right there. And then we're going to go ahead and roll the motor over a couple turns and watch the valve action. There's it going down and coming back up. Now we're back on the base circle. Now what we need to do is take all this back off and measure how long that push rod is, and then we're going to do it on an intake valve. A smart person would have bought 2 adjustable push rods. I mean, I guess I did buy 2, just one was wrong. All right, now I want to carefully get this out without changing anything. It's hard to see, but there's lines on these that when it's fully closed, collapsed, they line up. Each complete rotation is 50 thousandths of an inch. So you can take what you have here, count how many turns to screw it in, add that number of turns times 50 to 8.8, which is the collapsed length, and you get your push rod length. I got a much shorter length than I would have expected. So I'm just going to double check both sides. Okay, so I repeated my test 3 times, checked the sweep on the valve. That looks good. All 3 times, I got just over 9 inches for what we need. 9 and a 32nd, let's call it, 9035. So this tool didn't come with instructions, but it must be measuring what they call effective length, which is from like the radius in the cup. That's where you get the 8.8. If you measure this, like just even with a tape measure, it's longer than 8.8 fully collapsed. It's 89375. That's overall length. Now it's really challenging for somebody at home to measure effective length, so we're not going to. When you order push rods, you can specify either. Overall length is what I'm going to do. It's the easiest. So it's from this face to this face. What that means is when this was in there at 0 lash, I was just about 2 full turns out. I'm probably going to order 9-inch push rods, and I will tell you why. I set all this up with a bunch of adjusters showing, which basically means I could chase a short push rod and still get my preload. We don't want to go any longer than 9 and a 32nd, and we have enough thread showing. I think we will probably just ignore that 32nd. We'll buy 9-inchers. We'll chase it down to 0 lash, which will help take some of this thread up, and then we'll give it another turn for preload on our hydraulic lifter, and we'll be in the berries. Now that we have the information we need, we can go ahead and order push rods. I have no idea what the lead time is like on something like that, but that's going to do it for this episode of Tiger's Garage. Thank you. Please like and subscribe. Next time you see the 440, I'm hoping that we're going to be loaded in the truck, taking it over to the Roadrunner so we can put it in.